Hey guys, Graham Johnson from Tabletop Glory here, and so we're going to talk about how today's episode is a filler episode, and we're going to keep this real quick and we're going to keep it short. I had a commission that was supposed to show up on time to have done for this week's video, and UPS lost it for a little bit and then got it to me. So next week's video will be that commission, and I'm also learning some lessons the hard way this week. For a long time, I've never liked how YouTubers position their camera. We'll use my phone as an example. Position their camera from directly above or over the shoulder. I've never really cared for that. That's why I like to have my camera right in front of me to record what my hands are doing. There seems to have been a software update to my phone, which is how I record my videos, where it no longer recognizes your hands as a subject and it looks for other things. Now I'm going to see if I can reverse that or figure out if it's maybe just a setting that's been reset in my phone. Fingers crossed that's what it is, but it seems like it's searching for something other than my hands to focus on, and in this video in particular it seems it's focusing on my wet palette. Now my phone was doing this back when I started. I was able to change some settings and get that fixed so that that didn't happen anymore. Unfortunately, I've gotten to the point now where I just film right over the top of the phone. I don't even look at the phone, and yeah, it just kind of got away from me. I didn't realize my phone was out of focus at several points in the video. I have managed to cut most of the footage where the phone is out of focus, but if you would like to see the entire video for some reason, I will be uploading an unedited long version of this video so you can see from start to finish. I'm going to try to start doing that, not on every video, but from time to time, where I will show the full footage on my Patreon if you guys are interested in that. I'm also thinking about doing some tutorials that are separate from here and on Patreon. Eventually the stuff that is on Patreon will make it here to YouTube, so don't feel like you're gonna miss out. I know Mini Wargaming was kind of doing that with their Vault, where you were kind of missing out on some of the content. I don't want to do that. Eventually whatever is in Patreon will come to this main channel. It's just a way to see it early, and sometimes I even upload my YouTube videos on Patreon a day or two early before I upload them over here on YouTube. I may even start doing an entire video just for Patreon. Is something I've been thinking about, so keep that in mind and maybe consider following me over there. My cheapest subscription over on Patreon, I believe I currently have it set to $2, and that gets you access to visually see all the stuff I post, as well as interact and talk to me and the rest of the community over there. And it also gets you a shout out if you subscribe just one tier higher. So yeah, maybe consider doing that. But in the meantime, I've babbled on way too long at this point, and I do apologize for some of the out of focus footage. Well, let's get on with the video. Dungeons and Doggies, as well as Cats and Catacombs, is a great way for you to spice up your animal companion or even play as your animal companion for your party. Now, I absolutely love these miniatures. I've fallen in love with them since I learned about them originally back on Kickstarter, and although I wasn't able to back them on Kickstarter, they are available as a regular product now, and you can get them pretty much anywhere you get your normal gaming supplies. If your local hobby store doesn't have them, you can request them, as they're regularly available at quite a few distribution centers. So, without further ado, we're going to be doing a little Pitbull because I wanted to take some inspiration from my friend's Pitbull. So we're going to start out by painting all of the fur with a bone color, as this is a way that I kind of like to cheat my way through doing a blonde hair appearance, which his little Pitbull tends to have a very blonde appearance to them. Now, typically for how I like to do blonde hair is I do a couple of thin coats of Seraphim Sepia on top of a bone color, and that's what you can see me doing here. I'm putting on my second coat. However, dogs don't tend to have that same color blonde hair that most of us have. Their fur tends to have more browns or orange tones to them, so I went ahead and I added a little bit of Fugan Orange into my third coat. Now, using a mixture of browns, including a contrast brown, this is the Gunthor Fur, I believe, and we are going to be mixing that one with a mixture of Doombull Brown and XV88, as well as some other colors and some bone colors later on. We're just using a mixture of browns, and we're doing all of the leather colors. Now, the reason I did such a wide mixture of browns is I didn't want them to all look the same, and I probably could have taken things a little bit further on some of the leather straps and added a little bit of extra accoutrement with putting some silvers and golds in certain places, which would have been appropriate considering this model is modeled to be a cleric, and a lot of cleric miniatures tend to have a lot of golds and silvers, but I wanted to go more with the leather colors, something that would be more comfortable for an animal to wear so that they're just not cladded in tons of metal. You'll also notice that there are these little what appear to be bags on its hips, and I realized later on that those are not bags, they're actually little vials for like health potions and things, so I end up fixing that later, but you will see that I do end up painting it brown along with all the leather. Now, I wanted to use some bright and potentially neutral, meaning I didn't want to give a specific gender to this dog so that it could be whatever I needed or wanted it to be. I wanted to go ahead and use a bit of a teal blue bordering on sky blue for any of the fabrics, as well as the hood that covers their little head. I then mixed that teal color in with a little bit of ice blue from Reaper Miniatures to create all of my little highlights. However, I probably could have gone much brighter and probably almost gone to pure white if I really wanted to. And I may do that down the line if I decide that they don't pop enough, but once we get all the colors on here, he really stands out really nicely, and I don't think going overboard with all of the edge highlights would have been worthwhile. Using a mixture of Wog Flesh, Moot Green, and Lauren Forest, I mix up a neutral green for the bedroll. I wanted something a bit vibrant to kind of go along with the brighter blue colors that were already on the model. Once again, I sincerely apologize for my camera work. Again, this week's episode is just a filler for next week's episode. I need to rethink how I make my videos because it's focusing on the wet palette these days more than anything else. I guess there was some kind of update to my camera that I didn't know about, and it really struggles to pick up on the subject. It used to focus on my hands, which allowed it to always have the miniature in focus, and for some reason it no longer does that, and I don't know why. I've added some matte medium to some Abaddon black. This is going to be for the nose as well as the lips around the mouth. We're just going to add a nice little thin line along there, and we're going to use two little thin dots for the eyes, and that's it. We're not going to try to draw pupils or do colors in the irises or anything like that. We're just going to dot the eyes. At this point, I was just kind of going around the model, finalizing all of the leather colors or anything that needed to be leather by going ahead and using a nice deep dryad bark and then highlighting up until I was really satisfied with the colors. Now, I'm not going for anything that's super heavily weathered here. I imagine this is the lovable companion that the party can't stop spending money on, and therefore it probably has better gear than the entire rest of the party. So there's not going to be anything super worn out here. Everything's going to be brand new and nice. Now, using a mixture of gunmetal gray and white aluminum from Vallejo, we're going to go ahead and take those alcohol paints and we're going to be painting what I assume is either some kind of weapon, holy symbol, or maybe even a shovel. It's kind of hard to tell with this sculpt. A lot of the sculpts from this line are actually really well done and you can tell what everything is supposed to be, but on this miniature, I think this one's up for interpretation. We're also going to be going through and using these metal colors on things like the collar where the clasp is and anything else. We're going to go ahead and paint some gold around the holy symbol on the neck, as well as we're going to be painting some gold on the shield. Now for that, we're going to be using Retributor armor. Now, as at this point I realized the health potions, or whatever you really want them to be, were potion bottles. Basically what I did is I took some silver and painted those bottles in silver and then used contrast paints on top of that to give it a more liquid appearance to make it look as though it were transparent and that light was casting through it. Then to finish the glass bottles off, I simply used a bright blue, in my case again that ice blue that was on our palette from earlier. You could also use white to go ahead and paint the rest of the glass appearance. Now if you wanted to add some very light line work to the bottle to give the appearance of making it look shiny, that's fine. I just recommend using gloss varnish instead. And just like that, our best boy here is done. I absolutely loved working on this piece. It was a nice little refresher piece, and I'll definitely be using a lot more of these minis in my campaign in the future, so I've got plenty of good reasons to keep doing more of them. Now there's a lot and a lot of different breeds, but we'll get onto those when we finally get around to making those videos. As always guys, thank you guys so much for watching, thanks for all the love and support, and may your display case always be filled and your pile of shame never run empty. Until next time.